Hey everyone, what's up? It's me again. So I finally managed to put together all the pieces of this build, which is a flask-based, traitor-based Righteous Fire Chieftain. And the main idea of this build, as you guys may know, is you use the new Ruby Flask, which gives +5 to maximum fire res on a Chieftain, which then converts that to +5 all res, and then you amplify the effect of this Ruby Flask by using Flask Effect. And basically, every 20 Flask Effect that you get gives you 1 additional maximum fire res. So in this build, I use 40% Flask Effect using Micro Distillery Belt and a implicit on my body armor to get a total of 40%, and that allows my Ruby Flask to give +7 all res on this character. And then, since you start out with +7 all res, it's basically trivial to hit 87%, and then I am getting the rest of the 3% using Packed with Energy, which I believe is a totally rational soft core thing to do, because every max res, gets incrementally harder and harder to get. So if you abuse Packed with Energy in every map, and then a 7% Ruby Flask, that puts you at +10 max res right off the bat. And then all you need is, +5 max res, which is pretty trivial to get on this character. I'm getting 1 on the implicit of my boots. I'm getting 3 from this wheel over here. And then I'm getting 1 more from this life node over here. So just like that, with minimal investment, you can achieve 90 all res in mapping once you click the 3 things. And I think this is just a very efficient way to build a Righteous Fire character in SSF. And having all your max res be, solved using this tech, you are able to not run Rise of the Phoenix, which means that you can dual wield scepters for a shit ton of damage. And so here I have just 2 multi-modded scepters, fire multi, fire damage and, whatever shit, right? And that's basically the main idea of this build. And the rest of it is, just your normal standard Righteous Fire character. And then for the Traitor tech, as you guys know here, Traitor gives you flask recharge based on empty flask slots. And I have found it to be optimal to run this setup in mapping. The Ruby Flask has true 100% uptime with this setup using 3 flasks. And on this Ruby Flask, I have charge recovery to allow it to get, 100% uptime. And then I crafted life regen, which is actually giving me like 400 life regen. So if I take this off and put it on, you can see my regen goes up like 400 to 500. Or it's 400, it's like 450 regen using this, because that 3% is amplified by Flask Effect, and then it becomes 4%. So yeah. And then also the fire res also translates to regen because we're a chieftain. Or not because we're a chieftain, actually, because of fire mastery, my bad. Yeah, so every uncapped fire res becomes regen. So then, 40 fire res with 40 effect is like 56 flat regen in addition to the percent regen. So this is just like a really nice flask to have up all the time. And then in addition to that, I was able to put in a granite flask and a quicksilver flask. The granite flask, it has to be like this, otherwise it's not going to have ideal uptime. And here it's just, increased charge recovery and then just increased armor as well. And this flask, when it's up, raises my armor from 15k to 26k. So 26k is like a pretty reasonable amount of armor to have in mapping, I think. So, this flask is really good. And the quicksilver is also cool in this build because in mapping, you're always going to have this up. And this is a 50% base movement speed quicksilver. And then if you amplify that by 40%, it's 70. So I actually have 95% movement speed modifier on this build, and 70 of it is coming from the quicksilver, which I think is really cool tech. And I don't even have onslaught. I don't have onslaught and I don't have death's rush, but if I did, I would go, even faster, which would be crazy. But, constraints of SSF. I'm lucky enough that I was even able to put this together in SSF. So yeah. And then when I'm doing invitations or bossing, what I do is I take off the quicksilver because the additional flask slot allows, the granite flask to have more uptime. I can show you here. It has pretty good uptime. So like when it is used, like it's gonna, okay, so when it is used, like there is like, well, I'll just show you right now. It's not 100% uptime, but it's very close. So it goes off there and then it immediately goes back on. So there's like maybe 1 second of downtime and like 7 seconds of uptime. Here it goes down for 1 second and then it's back up again. So this is not, 100% uptime. The ruby flask is, but the granite flask is not. But it's pretty damn close. And for a flask that just gives armor from 15k to 26k armor, I think it's pretty reasonable that it has this kind of uptime. So yeah, I just have quicksilver on for mapping only, and then in invitations I take it off. This build in PoB, I have been able to get this to 3 million DPS, which is not great, but also my build is not optimal. Like I'm missing a lot of core stats due to, again, SSF constraints. I don't have dot multi on my amulet, which is scuffed. I'm also investing into 100% ignite chance for my, for the Chieftain explosion. So here I have 100% ignite chance. And, I think this is really important because, again, of ignite proliferation. Without that, you just don't consistently proliferate your ignites, which decreases your quality of life in mapping. And this is a mapping build. So I'm okay with sacrificing some damage to get 100% ignite uptime or 100% ignite chance. And then, like if you had more dot multi on the scepters, if you had more dot multi on the amulet, if you had a little bit of better gear, I have no doubts that you could take this to 4 million DPS, which I think is like around maybe the most you can get within a reasonable budget for a righteous fire build like this. Obviously you could get more, in trade, but you can get infinite damage on any build in trade. So like within SSF constraints, I think this is fairly reasonable. And then, yeah, everything else is basically just normal RF stuff. You have 6k life. You have, determination, and everything else is just pretty standard. So we don't have to go into that. It's just normal righteous fire stuff. And then, for the movement skill, you just use leap slam because you're dual wielding instead of using the shield, which I think is just fine. There's only 2 things that are scuffed with this setup. The first thing is that you don't have a life flask, which is kind of annoying. You could solve that by running enduring cry instead of infernal cry. So like what you could maybe do is like have a level 20 enduring cry just to use like in bossing / invitations, and then swap to infernal cry and mapping. Because I think infernal cry is really nice, especially for expedition, or like specifically for expedition. I think if you're not doing expedition, maybe you don't need infernal cry, but I think it's good. But yeah, you could swap that out for enduring if you wanted to. And then of course not having a life flask means that you don't have bleed immune naturally. So you have to take CB immune here. You could also get it on a jewel if you wanted to, but I think it's just easier to take it here. And then as for bleed immune, I have not figured out a way to get bleed immune on this build, like without sacrificing a lot. As far as I'm concerned, the only way to get it on the tree is to take the armor and evasion mastery, but it's just too far away. So I did not get that. And I guess you could take the Ralakesh Pantheon, but then you would not be 100% shock immune without substantial investment. So I just left it on Garricon. So when I get bleeded, I just have to like play very careful. But other than that, it's pretty okay. I guess the other scuff thing is because you have to use a micro distillery, you can't run a Stygian Vice, so you need your abyssal jewel on the tree. And you need this because you need phasing on this build. Like playing Righteous Fire without phasing feels kind of bad. So like normally if I wasn't doing this tech, I would use like a quartz flask just for phasing. But because of, Traitor, you have to get phasing somewhere else and I found that an abyssal jewel is the best way to get phasing. This would ideally be 7% phasing, but SSF constraints. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically the main idea of this build. here you can see my stats, 25k armor, which dips down like, 1/8 of the time to 15k armor. You have like 1.9, total life regen, which translates to like 1.5 at max res. Once you click the 3 things, you have 90 all res. Chaos res is 75, very easy to cap chaos res on this character. And then DPS is 3.3 mil, but if you had better gear, you could get that to 4 mil for sure. Also, my fire trap is not even level 21. So if that was level 21, I would get like 400k damage just right off the bat. So, I'm totally unlucky there. Haven't managed to get 21 yet, but if you did, easy damage. So, yeah. Also, my gems are not even level 20 yet. It is what it is, though. But yeah, that's the main idea of the build. Overall, I would say this build is pretty nice for mapping, as I'll show you guys very soon. Maybe I should have done the mapping portion at the start of the video. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you want the gameplay at the start or at the end of the video. But in any case, that's enough talking about the build. I want to show you guys what it feels like to play. So for this video, we'll do like a normal Minotaur. And then after we can do like a formed invitation just to, showcase the mapping and the bossing aspect. Great. Okay, so let's do one of these. And here I have a special Atlas tree that's like only for invitations. And here I basically spec'd 100% into Maven. And I increased the pack size of all the stuff for invitations. I took a bunch of quant. Maybe I'll get like some, exalted orbs or something. I have shrines to help with the invitations as well. I have packed with energy 100%, of course. Every tree I think should have this. And then, yeah, this is basically like my shrine packed with energy Maven invitation running thing. And I only use this tree to run invitations and like guardian maps, things that Maven can witness basically. So yeah, we'll just do that. I'm going to put an expedition just to show you guys what it looks like. Just put that on there. Oh, I guess this tree is not spec'd into expedition. So it's going to be kind of scuffed, but I mean, I'm sure you guys can get the idea. We'll do one anyway. Okay, so let's try this out. What is this? Okay, whatever. Put this quicksilver in. Yeah. So the gameplay is basically similar to RF. It just moves like normal RF. It just moves a bit faster because you have leap slam and you have, quicksilver with Traitor. So like your base movement speed is like pretty high. I wish I could get onslaught on my boots, but I just, SSF constraints. So here we'll just click all the things. And once you have all 3 of these things up, like, it feels pretty good to map with. Where's the rare? Oh, it died. So yeah. I think dual wielding scepters on a build like this is just like really optimal. Like when I put on this scepter, my damage went up 1 million from 2.2 to like 3.3. So like, why would you not get 50% more damage if you could, right? So yeah, just leap slam around. And the damage is high enough that things die pretty fast. I'm not going to take any shrines for this video, but normally, obviously I would, and it would be even crazier. But yeah, this build, pretty nice to play. And like having high damage means that rares will die pretty fast, which saves you any time. You never have to press any of your flasks. This dude is devoted, so he's extremely powerful. And yeah, whatever your explosions don't kill, dies pretty fast. Alright, so normally I would have Oppenheimer Expedition, but, this is my Maven tree, not my invitation tree. So, no Oppenheimer gameplay today. But yeah, you can kind of see how it, would look like. I'm totally brain dead to do Expedition on this build. Infernal Cry. An explosion. I did not get any explosions. I'm now sad. Alright, well, if that explosion could have happened earlier, that would have been great, but whatever. Okay, yeah, so that's basically what it looks like. You know, a lot of the times you don't even have to stop and everything is just like dead, which is cool. It's like group slam from pack to pack. Yup. Alright, let's do the boss. So this is 3.3 million damage on paper. Oh, I forgot I had this. It is a little bit scuffed not to have the... Oh, I'm bleeded. Okay, well, this is a bad showcase because I got bleeded and I don't have a life flask, which is like the one thing that this build struggles against. I really wish I had a good way to get bleed immune, but I don't. So yeah, the bossing gameplay is a little scuffed, but the mapping gameplay is really good. So there's a guardian. Here we'll do one of these right away. Yeah, if anybody knows like an elegant way to like fix the bleeding issue, that would be great, because I don't know how to fix that. I guess I could just use Infernal Cry. So here we're going to take off the life flask to have better uptime on these things, and we'll just go. So yeah. Yeah, this build basically is like, you know, sacrificing a little bit of QOL, sacrificing a little bit of, you know, defense and consistency for 50% more damage, which is the way that I personally like to play this build. Nobody saw that. Alright guys, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. Guys, the build's fine. Okay. Okay. Great. Where's my RF? Okay. So yeah, basically, yeah, not having a life flask is definitely a little bit sus. But then again, like doing invitations on this build in general is a little sus. Yeah, I should probably use Enduring Cry in invitations. This is definitely kind of scuffed. Yeah, I would not recommend doing bossing on this build. Maybe have another build ready to go for bossing. Yeah, this is kind of not optimal. I don't really know what's happening here. I wonder if there's any bad mods on this thing. Okay, well, I guess I won. Oh, awaken unbound elements. Maybe I'll use it one day. Hey, look, a hubris. Okay, well, that's about it. Yeah. Great. Okay, well, that's the build. I would give this build like maybe an A+ for mapping, maybe even an S tier if you're doing the right content, like expedition. Yeah, this is definitely like A+/S tier mapper in SSF. Bossing, maybe like a B- tier, maybe a C+. Yeah, it's just not having a life flask and like not having a good way to get rid of bleeds is kind of scuffed. But yeah, that's basically the build. Update on streaming. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I'll definitely get back to streaming as soon as I can. But again, like I may not sound like it, but it is taking everything I have in me to make this video because there is a hole in my tooth after it got extracted and I am on pain meds and I feel like shit and my mouth hurts. So yeah, I can talk for maybe like 30 minutes a day maximum and then I'm dead. So I'll get back to streaming whenever I can, but yeah, I'm really sorry to not like stream more at league start, but you know, it is what it is. So yep, that's the build. POV will be in the description. Yep, I'll see you on stream hopefully soonish. Yep.